What's cracking, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. New video. Where you from, man? Hey, where you Vatos from? Those are two of the worst questions. Variation of the same thing. But those are two of the worst questions that Vatos could be asked. I remember in the 80s and 90s, back, when I was able to run around, do my thing, if you heard that, or you were the one asking that, it was usually followed by a variation of things, being somebody's about to get stabbed, or somebody's about to be shot, or whatever weapons the guy asking the question has on him, he's about to use them. The cool thing about that question is this: there's no right answer. Somebody asks you, hey, where you from? That way, it's different than, hey, homie, where you grew up at? That's more of a like, oh, hey, homie, it's like casual conversation. So I trip out in the comments when I hear people in there asking me, hey, where you from? I'm like, damn, are we gangbanging? Because I'm from the era where that's not a casual question. Usually violence ensues right after that. And usually when somebody gets jammed up like that, hey, where you from? It's because they've been recognized as not being from where you're from. You only ask that question to somebody that's not from your neighborhood. If they're from your neighborhood, they must be brand new. You haven't met them yet. And even then, hey, let me see a tattoo, eh? That shit was going down too. Hey, where you from, Holmes? Oh, I don't bang, homie. I'm not from nowhere. Is that right? Take your shirt off, eh? Take that shirt off. Let me see. Next thing you know, motherfuckers getting stripped out. Pocket shook. I don't know if that's still a thing now. I mean, I'm sure in some places it is, but gangbanging isn't as vicious as it used to be. They probably ask that same question, but they ask it a different way. I don't want to clown what I was going to say. They probably use the N-word now. Hey, where you from? And it's a raza doing it. I'd be like, what? If I was asked, I would think that's the, hey, I'm not a Crip or a Blood, big dog. Like, you don't got to worry about me if you're getting at me like that. But bullshit to the side, I remember a case. One of my cellies in the county jail was from my neighborhood. He got busted for killing one of the rivals, right? And I'm reading through his paperwork, all his police reports and shit that he has. We're in the county. We're just, whatever I get on my case, we're both fighting murders here. Hey, check out this is what they're doing. I'm checking out what his case is, how it's building. And there was a little kid, man. The cops were trying to figure out who did what. And they decided to send two detectives to La Cumbre Junior High in my neighborhood. Back then, the West Side was so fucking deep with gang members. They knew, just go to La Cumbre, you'll find somebody, right? The two detectives walked into the office, talked to the principal. They wanted to ask the principal who were some of the biggest troublemakers at the school. They wanted to pull them in, try to question these little ass kids, the kind of shit these cops be doing. As they were in there asking the principal who they should talk to, this little youngster from my neighborhood, that was from my neighborhood, excuse me, he had gotten kicked out of class, sent to the office, right? For, I don't know, whatever he did, acting up. He went in there, boom, and they said, wow, well, obviously he's fucking up, so let's start with him. Fucking gold mine for them. This fucking kid, just so happened they hit the jackpot. They found the perfect kid on a fluke. This is why I always tell you guys, everything that happens for a reason. I don't believe in coincidences. Check this out. On a murder case, this random kid gets kicked out of class at the time he got kicked out. Gets sent to the office when the detectives are there to find out who should we be talking to, who should we question. This kid comes in, they say, you know what? Let's start with you. Come in the office. They asked him if he knew, I'm going to say G. V knew G, right? Because they had information about G being involved. And he's like, oh, I know him. Yeah. Well, how do you know him? He said, oh, he just sold me a stolen, I think it was a PlayStation or whatever. And perfect. He knew him. Then they asked him, hey, where were you the night, when it happened? He's like, oh, I was right here with my lady. And I saw the whole thing. What the fuck? Damn, kid. You just got into the neighborhood. Now you're trying to get into law enforcement, huh? But one of the things that the kid said that I know that whole family, dirt poor, just like most of us were back then on the West Side. Dirt poor. They lived in the back, right at the dead end next to the railroad tracks. And one of our streets, most of the streets on the West Side are dead ends because the 101 runs through the West Side. They lived on the dead end, very last pad. They probably had 50 people living with them. No lie. They had set up little tiny like bungalows in the back. They had a trailer in the back, like RV trailer, and then they had the house. They had a fucking vicious pit bull. Hated everybody. They had to hold them for any of us to go into the backyard, and then we had to go into one of the bungalows or the camper or whatever, and then they would let her go. That ghetto ass, hateful, spiteful ass pit bull hated everybody, but would have kittens clawing onto her back at all times, hanging off of her. Crazy ass house. But I know the whole family, and this fool said, I got hungry. I was at my girlfriend's and I got hungry, and I decided I wanted to go eat something. So I wanted to go down to the Shell on Carrillo and San Andres, and they were like, but you were in the house, why didn't you eat? He said, I was embarrassed, I'm poor, I don't like, I didn't want to ask her for food. Just so happened to come down the street when dudes from my neighborhood asked the dudes from the east side a simple question. Hey, where you vatos from? They knew exactly who was who. Everybody there knew who was who. There was a vendetta between two dudes in that group. Led to one of their homeboys winding up dead. But, hey, where you vatos from? The kid said he heard that. And he said he immediately dove in a bush. And they asked him, why did you dive in a bush? He said, because I knew what was coming next. And then he described the whole murder. Craziest shit I never read any paperwork like that. He said which hand grabbed the weapon, from where he grabbed the weapon. I blew my mind. I was like, wow. But goes back to the where you from, man. Now, there's a lot of you guys that grew up this way. And you're going to have memories. You're going to reminisce. Like, damn, man, no lie, I remember doing it. But this is kind of like more for the people that are not from California. A lot of the supporters of the channel that are not even from the U.S., they don't understand how bad things used to be and how bad things are in some places still. I say it all the time, man. I don't understand why we're still gangbanging or why people are still gangbanging. When we have these right here, these phones right here, they let you see the world. I've said it a bunch of times. Growing up in the 80s, 90s, before we had the internet, before we had these cell phones and all this shit, and they could do what they do, what did we know? What was our world? What was our entire world? What was in our house and outside our front door? Kids grew up seeing tecatos, gang members, gangsters, killers, baseheads, and they pattern themselves after one of those. Most of the time didn't pattern themselves after mom or dad. Most of us didn't have a dad in the house. So you pattern yourself after what you saw outside, who you interacted with, and you guys didn't know what the fuck you were doing. Kids don't, right? But see, nowadays, again, we got these right here. I can open up my phone right now and I can see Thailand, Japan, Korea. Like, I can see parts of Africa, Europe, and realize, oh, the world's a whole lot bigger than this shit outside my front door. And it expands your horizons, right? Or at least it should. I think that has been a big part of why gangbanging isn't as bad as it used to be. But why is there still gangbanging? Why are people still asking, hey, where you from? Why are we still filling up prisons and shit? Out here in California, why are we allowing our politicians to send our kids to busted up schools? The worst, some of the worst in the nation. Why are we driving down roads that are busted up and our bridges are failing and everything else, man? I don't want to go on that whole rampage, but I'm just saying, we got to do better. Got to stop asking people where you from. Instead ask, hey, how can I help you? That's my video for today, man. Hopefully you guys enjoyed it. Everybody, please be safe, be smart, and tell the ones you love that you love them. I'm out.